Hi there. In today's video, I'm going to be reworking this old piece that I've done some experimenting on, and I'm going to do a little more. I have these all-natural earth pigments that I picked up, and I have not used them a whole lot, but I wanted to see what would happen if I used them directly onto the surface of the encaustic. So I started by warming up this piece and adding some encaustic to it, and then I'm going to just start applying the pigment powders in random patterns and fashion. I hope you will be able to stick it out and see what happens by the time I get to the end of this piece. Let me know what you think. So the brown area on this piece has some cheesecloth with encaustic on it. I also have some fabric in there. I had originally covered up that cheesecloth with some raw umber oil paint. And so in the beginning I really didn't have a plan. I just wanted to see what would happen to the pigment powder when I put it on the surface and then warmed it up. Wanted to see how it would mix in with the encaustic and how the colors would mix in with each other. I had applied a layer of white, and now I'm just applying the different colors of pigment. The pigments were doing a lot of really interesting things on the surface, but it felt like I was having a hard time picking it up on the camera. So I did keep picking the piece up and lifting it towards the camera, hoping that you could see it better. I had a lot of points in time where some cells were happening and just some really areas of interest that I liked, but I just kept covering things up and creating more and more layers. I did notice once in a while the brush and the warm encaustic would pick up some of the pigment even though I had fused it. So I just would wipe the brush off on a paper towel that I had handy there, and it kept my pot of encaustic clean that way. I'll try to put some information in the description below about these pigment powders. I don't have any affiliation with them, but heard about them from another artist. I believe it was Christina Lovisa, and decided that they seemed pretty awesome and wanted to try them out. So I went ahead and got a set of them. So I do like them if I can figure out the different ways that I can use them. For those of you who may be somewhat new to encaustic, one of the things that happens that is a pretty cool effect if you know about it is when you put layer after layer after layer and you heat it, it will pull things up through from the bottom to the top of the surface. So that was one of the things I was trying to do as I put layer after layer on. I wanted the encaustic to come up through the bottom. At this point, I decided to try to put a little bit of structure onto the piece, so I grabbed my ruler and started making a grid pattern actually across the piece that I decided to fill with some oil paint. You'll see that here in just a minute. I'm going to use a mixing white and an transparent gold ochre that I have there to fill in the grid mark. I often use this mixing white because my titanium white is stuck closed. I can't get the lid off of it. So I've been grabbing this mixing white most of the time. If you see that, that's why I would try the titanium, but I can't get the lid off. As those of you who've seen my previous videos know, I use vegetable oil as my blending medium. I use it to blend the oil paint, and I also use it to clean it off of the surface. And I created this nice pattern or grid on there. I don't know, I just kept going back to putting layer and layer and layer onto this piece. So I ended up covering most of this up. I thought some of it would pull through as I kept working it. But you'll see here in the end that this grid didn't come through as much as I intended it to. Maybe I'll go back here later and scrape some more of the encaustic off of it. When I make my pieces, I don't often have a plan in mind, and I like the pieces to kind of come out and create themselves, if you will, or at least give me some sort of idea of where they want to go. And this particular board, this is the third time I've reworked this board, and so every time I do it, I end up with something that I like, but a lot of things that I don't. And when I get done with this one here in just a little bit, I don't know if I'll keep it or keep working on it. But this was a really fun experiment anyway. I wanted to scrape some of that back, like I said, to pull that grid out that I made, but I probably was scraping a little too soon. The wax was still fairly warm, and so I just wasn't getting the impact or effect that I was thinking I was going to get. And then secondly, I'm not very practiced with scraping. I don't scrape a lot. A lot of artists do, but I guess the only way to get better at it is to practice it. So here we are. At this point, I decided to pull out some of the pan pastels and start adding a little bit of variety of color. Again, wanting to do some color mixing on the surface of the wax. And that's kind of what I'm going to do here for the next little bit, is add some of the pigments, but then also some of the pan pastel pigments as well. I continue to add layers of color and mix them up and fuse them, adding a little bit of encaustic here and there. until I got just about to the end here. And I will show you here in just a second what I ended up with. And like I said, I'm not sure if I'm going to call this one done or not, but it definitely was fun. I'd love to see all of the different movement and color variations that I could get using these pigment powders and pan pastels. I'm just about to show you where I ended this piece in this video, so if you can hang in there just another second, I will show you that I made some splatters and give you the up-close look of this one. I hope you'll join me again real soon. If you have not subscribed to my channel, I would love it if you did, and see what I can come up with the next time. Thank you for joining me. Keep creating.